going live. Do we have audio? Do you hear any audio, Serena? Do we have audio now?
Yep. Yes.
We have audio. Excellent. All right, that means we got Bluetooth audio. I look like a dork. It's okay. I am a dork. Okay. All right, this is me presenting a contract. Now remember that it's going to be you and the buyer or the seller. I'm going to pretend, I don't know, should I pretend I'm a buyer or seller here? What do you guys think? We're working with a listing agent or?
Listing agent.
You guys want to hear it from a listing agent standpoint? It's going to be really close to the same. The reason is you're presenting facts. You're not advocating one way or another. Is this a good offer here? I don't know. It depends what you think. It's an offer. We got an offer. Yay, we got an offer. Even if you get an offer that comes in way low and is a crappy offer, and you know it's a crappy offer. We got an offer. We found somebody who's interested in our property. Yay, right? It's good. It's always good. Something to work with. We didn't have anything to work with yesterday. Now we've got something to work with. We know someone is fairly interested in this property. Okay. So, this is actually one I double-ended, I think. Yeah, this is one I double-ended. So I wrote it, it's exactly as I wanted it. Mind you, write them the way your buyer wants them, but you're advising them. They don't know what to put into a lot of these check boxes. You do. Write it up. If they want anything changed, change it. Okay? Okay. So, let me get into that role play place here. All right, so we have an offer. Here it is. Now, okay, backing up. Now, this is Travis. There is the presenting an offer in person with pieces of paper between the two of you. And usually that would be they're sitting at one side of a table and you're sitting at the other side. Get practice. If you can do this, you're doing really well. Practice reading the contract upside down. Okay, if you can read fluently upside down, you're doing good. And you'll get used to it. If you want to practice reading your book upside down, read your book upside down. It just trains your brain to run a different way. Seriously. Because you're going to be reading a lot of things upside down. If you're on a screen, make sure that they have it up also. If you're not together, make sure they have it up also. So that you guys are talking about the same thing. Mention this in that Tuesday or Thursday class, the one that everybody was in orientation. We're going to redo that one. If you have the chance to go over the contract in person, you know you're going to be in separate states or separate towns or at one point, and you have the opportunity to go over the contract form in person, do so before they leave. It's great. That way, when they're at their new home setting it up or whatever, this 19-page document is not as intimidating because they've already seen it before. They saw it when they were in your presence. And they got to feel how comfortable you were, and they became more comfortable with the document too then. And now they're looking at it on this cold white screen, but it's okay because they've sat with you. If you can't do that, don't. Also, okay, I said we were going to talk about terms and what we call things. This is a contract to buy and sell real estate. That's its official title. We call it the contract. If you say, I'm writing a contract, technically not true, but sure, it's fine to say that. You're writing an offer on the contract to buy and sell real estate. It's not an offer until what? I mean, it's not a contract until what happens?
Both signatures.
What?
Both signatures.
Yeah, until you got both signatures. It's just an offer until then. Yeah. You got to have both signatures, buyer and seller, to be a contract. Not a contract until then. We have other documents, and I've heard people call them contracts. They are contracts. The exclusive right to buy is a contract. And it says, this form has important legal consequences. It's a contract. It's a binding document between two parties. We don't call it a contract. We don't call it a contract. You can call it the exclusive right to buy. That's fine. You'll see Connie and Bobby in their notes say ERTB, exclusive right to buy, ERTS, exclusive right to sell. What do we nickname? What do we call it? Anybody know? What?
Yes.
Oh, no, I mean the exclusive right to buy or the exclusive right to sell.
ERS, agreement. A listing or non-listing?
Yeah, a listing agreement, buyer agency agreement. It doesn't say that anywhere on it, but that's what we call it. I mean, it has the words buyer, and it has the words agency, and it has the word agreement in the document. But we call it a buyer agency agreement or a listing agreement. But it is an exclusive right to buy. If you want to call it an ERTBS, ERTS, that's fine. You'll find that you don't. So, yeah. And you can call this a CDS. That's cool too. Yeah. Call it a CDS, we hear that. So, okay. Here we have our contract. Here we have our offer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. What Johnson? Oh, why don't we say Austin? Because that was his name. This guy was awesome, by the way. He's a 25-year-old bartender at a bar at the base of the main lift in Aspen, and makes like 50 grand a year on bar tips, selling $700 bottles of wine. This isn't don't think that this is a big one. He bought a deed restricted house for $160. Okay, a condo, 1 bedroom, 700 some square feet. Okay, all right. So Austin, here's our offer. I want you to know, this form has important legal consequences. I'm not an attorney. If you feel like you need an attorney, get one. I'm not an accountant. If you feel like you need an accountant, get one. Okay, we'll go over this document. It's 19 pages long. We're not going to go over every word, every paragraph. We're going to go over just the really important things, the things that can be changed, the things that the buyer or seller filled out. Is that cool with you? Because we can go over it word for word if you want, but we need to schedule a whole day for that. Sweet. All right. So I guess it sounds like I'm presenting this to a seller, actually. So let's do that. All right. So the buyer's name is Austin Green. That's him. This is you, Raymond. Ray. Did I spell your name right? Yes. Great. Okay. This is the legal description of the property. This is the address. Now, section 2.5 is all about what's included in the deal. And it's all the stuff we talked about when we did the listing. It's all the wiring and the floor coverings. It's silly they put it in here, but they do because somebody must have removed the carpet before they moved out of the house once. Okay, we don't have any water softeners or anything like that in this house, so let's move on to section 2.54. So here in section 254, just like we had in the listing agreement, you're given the refrigerator, the range oven, and the dryer with the property, right? Good. Okay. So here is section 2.5. Now you've got those parking lots out there. We don't have any garage space. You've got the parking lot. That's the space number, and it's use only. You can't actually convey the parking lot, parking space, or the storage closet. So we've got that in there, just like we had in the listing agreement. Keep going down. This is a condo. You don't have any water rights. You don't have a well. It's a condo. You don't have any water stock certificates. So we don't even need to worry about all those sections. Here is section 3. Now we're going to spend a little bit of time on here. There's 19 pages in here, and it may seem like this is going to take forever, but a lot of our conversation is going to be based off this section 3. When we get through this, we'll start going a lot. We'll start moving through pages faster.
Can't hear you very well.
How about now?
There's a delay. So.
There's a delay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wonder if she's just hearing me off the phone. Comment if that is comment if that is making sound.
Do you need the mic?
It's too far.
Oh,
Is there a wireless mic?
yeah.
Can I have, well, but
It's like a lapel.
I'll have to, yeah, we'll look into that. I was using my lavalier.
Okay.
Any comments right now, Serena? Should I go back to the thing or just talk really loud? Should I move the camera or talk really loud? Let Serena know. Okay.
Yeah, it's just coming off the phone.
Yeah,
There was nothing
it's
on
just
it.
coming off the phone. Let me lose my rhythm.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's
You're
better.
at section 3.
I'm at section 3. I'm gonna do my rat's nest here. Oh, I did it up good, didn't I? Okay. All right, we're gonna move it back over here. I know you won't be able to see the screen as well, but the microphone will reach. And then we'll find out about the wireless mic, see if that works. Okay. Okay. Our section 3. Okay, section 3, item 1 is about alternative earnest money. They're going to have an earnest money check to us in 3 days. That's pretty typical. No big deal there. Record title deadline and record title objection. These dates are just when we have to have a title commitment to them, the buyer. If there's any off-record stuff, that's when we have to have it to them. The title resolution deadline is if there's any issues with our title commitment, we got to sort out what we're going to do to fix it. Typically, we don't see anything, and I don't expect anything on this property with that. So here in 7 days, we got to get the HOA docs to them. I'll take care of that. Don't worry. Seller's property disclosure, you already filled that out. Has there been anything in the past 2 weeks that we need to worry about? Anything that you've repaired, anything that we have to disclose now? No? Sweet. All right, we'll use the one that we have. I'll get that to them. I'll be emailing that to them as soon as we have a contract. Loan objection deadline. All right, they're getting a loan on this property, and they've got 30 days to get their loan tied up. Now, they can terminate even if they have loan approval. I want you to know that. But typically this has been looked at as when they expect to have the loan approval. Now, in this case, this is awesome because I'm dialed in with their lender. I wrote this. Remember that, Ray? I wrote this. So I know what's going on with the loan, and we'll be fine. Appraisal deadline. This is the deadline by which we have to have the appraisal in. We'll get the inspection done in 10 days, inside 10 days. And then order the appraisal right after that. You've been through that inspection part with me. I just remember, this is basically, the inspection period is basically a chance for the buyer to reopen the negotiation. It's a chance for them to say, yeah, we agreed to these terms. Now I want this. So just be ready for that. This guy's pretty enthusiastic about the house. I don't know that we'll have any issues there. Closing date, October 3rd is the closing date. Then that's when we done. You're going to be in New York then, right? Yeah. So we'll find you a notary or a closer there in New York, and set it up so that you can sign there. He'll be signing here in Glenwood, and it'll be good. Possession date, he'll take possession when he closes, and we need to get back to him by tomorrow at 5. Does that work for you? Cool. So this house has a deed restriction, and we've got in there 14 days for him to get approval from the housing authority. If he can't get approval in 14 days, we need to terminate. That's when his earnest money will be at jeopardy for that reason. We'll look at that when we get down to Section 31. Well, why don't we just look at it now? So down here in Section 31, which is additional provisions, here we go. It says Section 3, Item 37, buyer may terminate without default on or before MEC plus 14 days if buyer's application for approval of satisfying deed restriction requirements to the town of Basalt has been denied in writing at any time. I wrote that, and I know he's already got his application in, so we should be good. I've talked to the housing authority. We should be good there. Now, here I've got that you may terminate this contract by written notice to buyer if buyer's application for the town of Basalt has been denied at any time. I put that in there because if he gets denied a week in because he makes too much money or has too much in assets, if he gets denied a week in, I don't want him waiting another week before he terminates. So I've got that in there that you can terminate if it has been determined that he doesn't qualify. I'm going to break character for a sec. I sold this condo to Ray 3 years ago. The buyer, Austin, called me off my sign. I had a past relationship with Ray. Ray referred 3 clients to me, and one of the clients he referred to me referred me someone else last week. So, been a good stream of business. I've got loyalty to Ray. Ray's not just, so we're not friends, but he's a past client who has sent me lots of business. I've got loyalty to Ray. I am Ray's agent. Austin is a customer. I don't have any loyalty to Austin. I'm not impartial to the two. I'm loyal to Ray. I wrote up the offer Austin wanted me to write up. He said, full price, put it together however he wants so that I get this place. It's a deed restricted condo, $160,000. Everything else in the development that are not deed restricted go for $450 to $500. He wanted it. Okay? So, you're Ray again. I'm Travis. All right. So let's skip down to Section 4.1. This is where all of the money is. You'll see he's offering full price, $160,685. He's got $3,200 in earnest money. We asked for what is that? 2%. That's what we asked for. And he'll bring cash at closing, $4,800. I've talked with his lender. That's good. He doesn't need any concessions. He's got his own money to pay for his own closing costs. The earnest money will be good funds. It'll come to our title company. And we're going to skip through a lot of this because it really only has to do if there's a dispute, and you probably won't remember it. He does have the money right now, and I do have a bank statement from him showing that. So we know that he has this $4,800 in his bank. He really can buy. He's getting a conventional loan, which is good because this place isn't certified for FHA. There's no assumption, so all of that is deleted. Section 5 just talks about the conditions of financing. Section 6 talks about appraisal. He's going to pay for his own appraisal. Section 7 is all about HOA, and you know about your HOA just as much as I do. We'll get them all the documents. This is where it says we have to get them the documents from the HOA. Section 8 here is about title, and as we discussed before, you would pay for a title insurance policy. The buyer is going to have to pay for their own lender's policy, but you'll pay for the title insurance policy. You earlier told me you'd agree to pay for an owner's extended coverage, which is, I think, $75. Oh wait, no, you told me he wouldn't. So we've got in here that the buyer will. And break character, just so you know. Typically, seller pays for that. This was a deed-restricted property. $160,685 was the max he was allowed to sell it for by the housing authority. Okay?
Wait a second, what was that? How much for the house?
$160,685. It's based off of a formula, based off a 3% appreciation over the time he owned it, or the ratio of the consumer price index from when he bought it to when he was selling it. There was no co-op fee being offered here. There was only one commission. If another broker brought the buyer had to pay them. You can do it. People don't like you doing it. But the reason is that a buyer commission would come out of Ray's side. When Ray bought the property, he wrote me a check. Well, he didn't write me a check. I was a debit. I was a line item on the settlement statement when he bought it, because that seller wasn't offering a commission. Kind of common on these deed restricteds up there.
So you're saying that's the reason why he had to check buyer paying for that?
He did not have to check that. He did not have to check that. But Ray's return on the house was really limited.
Right.
And so he was trying to get as much as possible. And by making the buyer pay for their own owner's extended coverage, yeah, it made Ray's profit better. The buyer would have probably paid for his own title insurance, because he was getting the place for $160,000. He's getting it for $300,000 less than market. Right? So let's see. All right. Back to character. All right. Section 8, a lot of stuff about title. A lot of it really only has to do if things go wrong. This big part here is really more for the buyer. It's about special taxing districts, oil and gas, mineral rights, etc. Let's get to section 9. 9 is all survey, Ray. This is a condo. We're not getting a survey. Sweet, we get to move on. This guy was 35, known him a lot, probably would say, sweet, we get to move on. He wouldn't say that with everybody. Okay, section 10 is all about inspections and disclosures and stuff. But let's move to where there is something we could fill out. There's no documents he's asking for here.
Don't they have CIC documents and all that?
That's up in HOA stuff.
HOA. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Source of water, we disclosed to them in the seller's property disclosure where the water came from. Section 12 is all about closing documents. We've got here that I will set the time and place of closing. You're going to be in New York, not a big deal to you. I'll set it whatever the buyer wants. And we've got here that you'll transfer ownership with a general warranty deed.
Now, is that changing to special?
Now, we'll have a conversation about that later.
Okay.
We'll have a conversation about that later. After, when I get to the bottom, we will. Okay. We've got here, as you told me, you'd be willing to pay your half of the closing services fee. And got in here that he will pay for any letters that come from pay for the cost of any letter from the HOA or any transfer to transfer him into the HOA. He'll pay for those. Those will be his costs. We don't have a local transfer tax. We don't have any private transfer fees. We don't have a water transfer fee because you're an HOA and the water comes from, or you're a condo and the water comes from the HOA. We don't have any sales and use tax because even though we're including the washer and dryer and stuff, we're going to say that they don't have any value. And we'll prorate the taxes. Now, what this means is we're going to close in October, and Austin's going to own this property next year. When he gets to April, the tax man's going to come and say, hey, Austin, where's the taxes for 2018? And Austin's going to be like, well, I have my part, but I didn't own it the whole time. And the tax man doesn't care how long Austin owned it. The tax man wants the money from Austin. So what we're going to do is we're going to give 10/12 or 5/6 of the taxes to Austin's lender. And they're going to hang on to it so that when the treasurer comes and says, hey, where's the taxes? Your portion, the time you owned it, is there. And so that's going to show up as a debit to you, as a charge to you on the settlement statement. And it'll be a credit to Austin on the settlement statement. All right, moving on down here, we've got association assessments. If anything comes up between now and the time we close, a new association assessment, you'll pay for it. That's pretty typical. And is there anything that you know of coming? No? Good. Okay. So we've got here that what you told me with the listing agreement, $270.15 per month is the HOA dues. And let's see, if you don't give possession on the day of closing, you'll give them $100 a day. But you're going to be in New York by then, so it's not a big deal.
So is $100 a day, is that sort of, I mean, I know there's no standard for that. But
There
is that
isn't.
something-
We can let me roll through and we'll talk about.
All right.
Yeah, make a note. Okay, so if any of the deadlines we have or any extension of those deadlines hits on the on a weekend or a holiday, it'll get extended to the next business day. Let's keep cruising. It's gotten easy, huh? All right. We get down here. If there's any fights, we agree to mediation. We can deliver documents by internet. I'm moving down. We already read section 30. So you'll see right there, that's where he signed. And now you just need to sign right here if this is good with you. Sweet. I'll click my buttons. Doom. All right. And really, that, unless you've got a very inquisitive buyer or seller, that is about how you go through a contract. In my earlier years, I went into detail, and they would be like, and then towards the end, they'd be like, oh, just can we just skip all this? You're like, no, this is really important. And it all is important. Most of those 19 pages, though, are about a fight.
Yeah.
They aren't about, I mean, really, it'd be a fun exercise. If anybody wants to raise their hand and volunteer for it, cut and paste the parts that are just normal transaction moving forward. My guess is it'd be the dates and deadline table and then another 3 pages. And the rest is fight. The rest is if there is a dispute. So unless they really want to know what happens if, don't go into what happens if. It would be very close if it was a buyer. Differences, let me cruise through. You keep taking your notes, Trish. I'm going to cruise through and see what I would have said differently if it was a buyer. You know, I would have said, that's you, inclusions. I would have talked more about the parking situation because they need to know really what's going on. My seller knows what's going on. I would have talked more about why it is use only and not ownership and the space, parking space. I would have talked about that a little more. Would not have talked about anything to do with water more. During the contract presentation, wouldn't have mentioned association documents or seller's property disclosures anymore, I don't think. I would have talked about the appraisal a little more of when we get done with the inspection period, we'll make sure that the lender orders the appraisal. Now, they're probably going to get a credit card number from you. You're probably going to have to pay for that before they order it. Just be ready for that. The appraiser is working for your lender. He's not really working for you, but you can get a copy of the appraisal. I probably would have said that, not a whole lot more.
Is there any cases where it's rolled into the loan?
The appraisal cost, the question was if the appraisal cost ever gets rolled into the loan. Some do that, but the risk there, has anybody seen that happen now? Okay. The reason not is, let's say the buyer gets a house under contract, orders an appraisal, and the deal falls apart. The lender ordered an appraisal that is $600, $700, $800. The deal fell apart. Now the lender says, hey, Johnny, you owe me $800 for that appraisal we ordered for you. He's like, see ya. I'm going to Countrywide. Do they still exist? I don't think they exist anymore. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
First home ever
Was through Countrywide? Yeah. Okay, so not really, Sherry. I think they all want it on a credit card. I could be wrong.
I hope you are.
I may be. I probably am. Tell me if I am. Well, you're talking about your buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me if I am.
Okay.
Honestly, the last time the last time I worked with a buyer that had $1,000 down offer, I don't remember. I don't remember when that was. The last time I dealt with that person.
Because she made it clear to me that all she needs to bring to the closing table is 1,000. And so.
Yeah, the question is on the settlement statement, it says POC next to that amount often. Paid outside of closing. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I don't know. You might need to send an email to a lender right now. Okay, what else would I have said differently to a buyer? Austin and I talked a lot about this approval with the housing authority before we even made the offer. By the time we had the offer put together, he had had his application in. He fully understood what that was. I showed him all the documents.
How much longer does an FHA take than conventional?
You can do FHA in 30 days.
Really?
Yeah, it can be done. Yeah, you got to be on it. But yeah. And it all depends on the lender too. If they have in-house underwriting, or if they got to send it out to someone.
If you have quite a bit of personal property getting changed over, would you go into detail on that?
Yeah, so the question is, if you have a lot of personal property being transferred over, would you go into detail on the section 2.5? And you probably would do the sales tax part differently also. Because if that personal property is significant, there needs to be a bill of sale for it, and there will be a dollar amount, and it won't be $10. That's what we often see on those bill of sale is $10, yard sale value, right? What would you buy a washer in front of somebody's house for? $10 isn't really fraud. I mean, maybe, yeah. You don't know when that washer's going out. Yeah, if you've got a lot of personal property like gated pipe, like
What did you say?
gated pipe.
What is that?
It's pipe with holes for irrigation water to come out.
Oh.
If you've got stock panels, if a tractor's staying on the property, if it's fully furnished, definitely.
So every single thing has to be itemized, and then you discuss it when you discuss the contract with them?
We're kind of done with having presented the contract. So yeah, this is fine. And then I know you got your questions too. Yeah, it depends on the significance of it. If I was selling my house fully furnished, no, I'd probably have to pay them because they don't want my crap. Okay, they don't want they're like, God, Travis, where did you get that crappy couch out of there? Okay, but yeah, if it's $30,000 worth of furniture, yeah, you got to document that. If it's $10,000, I'm just using that as a rough number. How do you go about doing that is the question. And Maria in my office sold in October a fully furnished property. And there's a lot of ways you can go about it. You can go about it by saying, all of the furniture. Okay, but does that include that, and that? Maybe it does. If you've got an out-of-state seller, I'm going to have this in the spring. Guy lives in Santa Barbara, house above Route I. He's selling it furnished. He's not coming back, ever.
To grab anything.
He's not coming to Colorado for a long time. Yeah, just that, and we have to make it clear. Yeah, that is staying, okay? Because it doesn't fit in my car, and he's not coming back for it. Everything. But if there's contention too, think about taking your video camera and walking through and just, and having everybody reference the video dated such and such. That's a way to document it. Or you can itemize everything.
So just reference the video in that one section then of the contract and tell them.
Yeah.
And don't go into, hey, let's check out this video. You just say.
Well,
video that you saw.
you should watch the video. Make sure everybody knows what.
Okay.
Make sure everybody knows what really is being said. Yeah. Trish, what are your questions? You had a question about the $100.
Yeah, is that sort of a, I mean, I've seen that before, you know.
Okay, so I'll talk about that a bit.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that a bit.
there it is.
Okay, $100. $100 per day. This is if the closing happens and the sellers don't give possession. Now, most of the time, sellers don't give possession doesn't mean they didn't move out.
Right.
Most of the time, it means they had a renter that was supposed to be out. Right? Most of the time. And that renter won't get out. And you still did the closing. If they don't give up possession, the seller's liable for blank dollars a day. In this, it says $100 a day. That's fine. My guy was sleeping on an air mattress at his buddy's house. If he didn't get possession, it was not a huge, huge deal. Of course, he bought the house, he wants possession, but it's not a huge deal. Now, imagine moving from Kansas. You're buying that house here in Junction, and you've got a 25-foot U-Haul. You got a car dolly on there. Your wife's in the Subaru, stuffed to the gills, and it's got 2 baby seats in the back. Okay? You come, you drive, today's the day we're buying our house, you make it over Vale Pass, and you're here in Grand Junction, and you close, but you don't get possession. You've got a U-Haul full of your junk
So you go to.
that you've got to pay every day for. You've got a hotel, and maybe with the 2 babies is easy because back then we still got when we had 2 babies, we still had 1 bed in the hotel room. You got 2 hotel rooms because you got this SOB 13-year-old that you can't stand, and his sister, and get over there in that room. No, we don't want an adjoining door. You know, it's my 9-year-old. He's a kicker. He's a kicker. We have to get him his own cot because he kicks the crap out of you. Anyhow, so yeah, and then you're eating in restaurants, right? You're eating in restaurants.
$100 a day doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. When I see 400 or 500 in there, it's like, whoa, what are you, crazy? Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Also, I mean, theoretically, it's not right out of your pocket, but if you're buying a $300,000 house, you've got a $1,800 payment, $2,000 payment. If you do 1,800 divided by 30, you're paying $50 a day to own a house that someone else is in, right? So that's not crazy.
So is 250 would probably be more realistic. Are sellers more?
It depends on the family.
Basically, you're trying to kick them out with your amount.
Well,
Yeah.
now here's the thing.
Yeah, motivating to get out.
Right.
Here's the thing. Motivating to get out. Okay.
$100 isn't very much.
This is $100 a day if you don't give possession after closing, right? Right? You've closed. You closed. The sellers have their money. You own the house. You just don't get to be in it. What leverage do you have? How are you getting your $500 a day? Really, how do you get it?
You have to file eviction.
You what?
You have to file eviction.
Well, that gets you possession. Yes, you have to sue them. Yeah. You got to sue them to get your 500. Right? Yeah. Good times.
So why wouldn't you just write in a higher number there?
Well, I guess you still have to sue them if you have a higher number.
Oh, I see, because the guys don't get out. I get
You
it.
still have to sue them. And then be careful, because if you write $1,000 a day and you go 10 days or 11 days, you're not small claims court anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I see.
You're
Okay.
district court.
I wrote 500 in mine,
Yeah.
because I wanted them to be serious, you know.
Right.
I mean, they see that
And the
number.
cost of a hotel is way more than 100, and then
Yeah.
add food and everything else on it.
So, it depends on who it is, really. let's talk, because this isn't a contracts class. This is a presenting the contract class. Let's put we have 10, 12 more minutes. Let's put ourselves in that place of not understanding this, but presenting it, of being there with them and presenting it. Any questions about how or what or where or when? I can.
So what are when you're presenting a contract, key points?
Yeah.
Is it dependent on the client and what
Yeah.
the client is, where their attention is? Well, no, I don't mean to.
I
be
would,
picky,
no,
but
no, it's not picky. That's my point. I would go over it differently with you.
Yeah.
If you were my client, I would go over it very differently with you than I would with other people. And, beware of that too. If you're dealing with a couple and you did your presentation to both of them, but now you're primarily working with one, the other may be like, whoa, wait a minute. Because they may be, we got to get to the details here. Just beware. It's just dealing with people. That's all it is. You can sense what they want. Ask them what they want. Do you want me to go over this word? No, God, no, please don't. Just tell me what I need to know.
Okay.
Okay, good. I'll tell you what you need to know. Now, on that, if you've got Trish as a client, be ready for that. Be ready for it. And not an insult at all.
No, it isn't.
The way you be ready for it, this is a practice that I would love all of you to do. Next week,
Okay.
print yourself a 19-page version of this document. Can you write a 5 or 6 word summary of this paragraph? Of that paragraph? Do you really know what's in that paragraph? Because if they say, wait a minute, well, what does this say? And you're like, hang on, let me see. Okay, seller must disclose to buyer any latent defects actually known by seller. Okay, seller agrees that disclosure of latent defects will be in writing, except as otherwise provided. The seller is conveying the property as is where. Okay, well, what this says.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
Right. You gotta know this document. Now, the hard part, you know what? I take it back. Don't do it this week. Don't do it this week. Because it's changing. Because it's changing. Do it in January. Do it in January. So that you can.
Wait, we're going to be presenting a presentation before then.
Yeah, you will. And you'll be doing it on this document. Okay, I see what you're saying. If you want to spend the time on the 19-page,
How much is it going to change?
otherwise fudge it. I don't know, I haven't actually opened up the PDF yet. Quite a bit, and Connie said quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sections are changing. It's not just changing will from shall. Take a class, because we will not do a whole go over it here with me. Take a class. And you need CE too. Take a CE class. Okay, so there's that. Learn how to say it. Learn what it says. And then 2, practice on each other. Have a partner. You guys should partner up. You guys know who you like hanging out with and who you like working with. Don't use that person.
Exactly.
Don't use that person. Okay? Because when you sit down with them, you got to get to business. You got to get to work. Okay?
Nobody's going to want to work with me.
No, you're the perfect person. Oh, because you're so likable?
No.
Trish. No, really. Pick somebody that you're not going to chit-chat with. Practice this stuff. Don't practice on your buyer or your seller. They got to know that you know. And that first moment is going to be how much they trust you through the whole transaction. Remember that. It's that first impression. They got to know that you know what you're doing. Practice. Don't practice on them. Surgeons don't practice on their clients.
Cadavers.
They practice on cadavers.
You could go to the morgue and get the dead guy.
It's called a medical practice, Jeff.
Ah, good one. You got me there. All right. All right, I'm going to end this. Bye, guys. Practice.